I'm like somewhere between a football agent and an estate agent. The maidens are so competitive, I mean, because you're running against some of the best bred horses in the world. At times you really need to be on the button when a horse crosses the line, because some of these horses are really competitive to try and buy. And that's crazy money, but at the same time I think we could offer less.
Tell us about you. How did you get started out, first of all, in the industry? Are you racing born and bred?
No, not racing born and bred at all. I grew up riding horses, did pony club, did everything in pony club from dressage to polo, and was brought up in Winchcombe just outside Cheltenham, so loved going to the races there. And that's sort of where I got the love for horse racing. Managed to negotiate some work experience with a guy called Alistair Donald, who is based in Newbury and not far from Oxford Brookes, where I was at uni. So in my final year, I would go there quite regularly, sort of once a week, to go and help him in the office, and then I did some sales work with him. And then just by coincidence, and I guess you need some luck in life, I did the BHA grad scheme as soon as I finished Brookes, which was another great thing to do. And then as soon as I finished that, or maybe in the last 2 weeks, Luke Lillingston was advertising for someone to come and help him in his Bloodstock agency. So I had a great connection there, and Alistair put me in touch with Luke and gave me a great reference, and that was 7 years ago. I'm still working with Luke now. We're Lillingston Bloodstock, but 20 years it was Kern Lillingston, and Kern is Lincoln Collins in America. And I suppose the equivalent in Lincoln's business now is a guy called Joe Miller. He'd be a little bit older than me, but his main client is Tim Cohen. And Tim and Joe gave me a chance when I first started out, and we got really lucky. With horses like Quattro Elle, so we bought her after she finished second in a Leopardstown maiden, and then she went on to win a Group 2 and get Group 1 placed, and sold for a lot of money to the Japanese for breeding.
And so what percentage of your business is overseas? Pretty much?
For me personally, 95% of the horses I sell would go overseas at the moment. Primarily to America, I'm really focusing on America. I've had a lot of luck there, and the trips that I spoke about have just built up a good rapport with a lot of trainers in America. And then after that, we also buy horses to go to Australia, Hong Kong, and I bought my first horse to go to Dubai at the July sales. So we'll see where that leads. And then Luke predominantly would buy broodmares and yearlings to stay here. But it's great to have Luke there in Ireland to go and see the horses that we need to see in Ireland. It just gives us a great spread.
Why would an American owner want a horse from Ireland or England? Why wouldn't they just get one from America?
Because there's more and more turf racing in America now, and the prize money for those turf races is really good, particularly at places like Keeneland and Saratoga, Kentucky Downs. The prize money is still really respectable on the West Coast as well at Del Mar and Santa Anita. And as you know, predominantly breeding in America is focused on dirt racing, and as the racing in America has become more and more competitive on the turf, the best way to secure a good turf horse is to buy it from Europe. And some Americans are doing it differently. Lots of Americans have been coming to the sales and buying yearlings, but I personally think the best way to buy a good turf horse is to buy a proven horse.
And so a day like today, fairly mundane day of racing from the outside, you've decided to focus on Ireland as usual. Why that meeting, and tell us about the races that you picked to look at today?
The trainers' models in Ireland, outside of the really big trainers, a lot of trainers in Ireland are set up for trading horses. That's how they run their businesses. They buy yearlings, they're really good at picking yearlings for not a lot of money, that then get placed or win maidens or go on to show high level of form, and then they sell them on for significant profit, and that's their business model. So they're great traders, they're really good to work with, they're really good horsemen. So when you buy these horses and they go to places like America and Hong Kong and Australia and they've got to train on the track, the horses, because they've been raised well, they have great minds and they're able to cope with that chaos. Going from just being trained at a quiet place in Ireland to being trained on a track, the horses have good minds. And then it's the fact that there's only really one meeting a day in Ireland. And so the racing is so competitive. Like, we're going to watch a race later. It's a 3-year-old fillies maiden in the middle of the summer, and there's 20 runners. And so you can have such confidence in the form of that race, because there's great depth to the race. Aidan O'Brien's got a filly in there that's rated 89. So if sort of a horse runs around that Frankel filly, you know that the form is pretty solid. The maidens are so competitive, I mean, because you're running against some of the best bred horses in the world. I mean, most maidens at the likes of the Curragh, Leopardstown, Naas are basically mini group races. So it makes our job as bloodstock agents much easier, and we can sell the horses to America or Australia or Hong Kong with such confidence because you can really believe in the form. A really important thing is to try and buy a horse that is going to be able to progress when it goes on to the next trainer, wherever that may be, whichever country it goes to. So some trainers are much tougher on horses than others, I find, and we try and hone in on those trainers which maybe don't squeeze the lemon as much as others do.
No one British likes talking about money, but how does it work, as in what's in it for the trainer? What do they get out of this
So normally
deal?
the trainers have a built-in commission, somewhere probably between 5 and 10% of what a horse might sell for, or the profit between what they bought it for as a yearling and what they sell it on for as a 2 or 3 year old.
And then how does it work for you? How is your commission decided? Is it
So we would always try and make 5% in a deal. It's not always possible, so I would always, in the first instance, try and earn 5% from the person I was buying the horse for, because that's who I'm acting for. But say they have a max budget and they can't pay a 5% commission as part of that, then you may go to the seller and explain that situation and see if anything can be worked out with them. Or if you're working with somebody in America, you may have to split a commission. We're about to watch a 3-year-old filly's 1 mile maiden at Naas. There's 20 runners, and this race is interesting for a number of reasons. Firstly, people in America like to buy horses that run a mile because most of their turf races are over a mile, and some of their dirt horses can be effective turf sprinters. There's 3 fillies in here that we'll be watching closely. So here there will be Glory, which is a Cotai Glory filly, a stallion who's got a good record in America. There will be Glory's very sort of handy on the lead. She's sitting about second. Aidan O'Brien's filly, which is rated 89, probably going to be sort of the yardstick in the race, is making the running. There will be Glory's a bit stuck on the rail there. She's going to struggle to get some luck in running, so she is going to have to sort of hopefully find a gap. Eleanor Kennedy's horse is about to come and win. She's a wealthy lady, that horse is unlikely to be viable. But you can see here that there will be Glory's finishing really quickly. So she's definitely interested.
A couple of weeks later in Newmarket, we caught up with Charlie for an update on the sale.
We initially spoke to the trainer and the owners were interested in selling. So she was based in Ireland with the Slattery, so Luke went to see her. But unfortunately she was quite a tall filly, and there was aspects of her leg conformation which meant we weren't sure whether she would suit fast ground in America. The owners really liked the filly and the Slatteries liked the filly, so they weren't willing to sell her unless they were getting what they felt was a good price. So the balance of that meant that we just decided to move on to the next one. And then luckily, a couple of weeks later, another filly came up, a Sir Percy filly trained by John Murphy. She won at Goran really impressively. She'd previously run really well at Killarney behind a filly of Aidan O'Brien's, who's rated 90, only just beat her there at Killarney. And this filly, she's called Plaza Athenay, and she won really impressively at Goran. Plaza Athenay has been bought to go to Brendan Walsh. He's a trainer we've had a lot of luck with already. We've bought 2 for Brendan, a filly called Fuente of Ahuna, who won a listed race and was placed in 2 Group 2s in America, and then a filly called Expensive Queen, who won on debut at Keeneland and was then 4th in a Group 1. Being by Sir Percy, he's a stallion who's got a great record in America, and we managed to secure her a couple of weeks ago, and she's a lovely looking filly. She's tall with lots of scope and very correct, and luckily she passed the vet, and she's due to fly to America next Saturday.